And good morning. 10th wave. Yes, I've been doing ninth wave videos for 10 months. But it's the 10th wave today. And the title that I've given this morning's talk is 10th Wave, May Heaven Help Us. People awakened as never before during the ninth wave that just ended yesterday. By no means was this a majority. Neither is it a majority that have been ruling the world through fraud and deception, sowing discord and violence. The mass demonstrations around the world this year are indicative that we know what the problems are. We've also been told that the galactics will not interfere since this is a free will zone. My question is, what will it take for heaven to finally help us? Breathe, Ron. The time on the clock when I started equal to 10 when you added up the digits. I'm trying to figure out the timing thing for this new wave, which only lasts 13 days. That is calendar days. And I've been up since just a little bit past 3 o'clock and got a phone call from my son while I was in meditation. And I've been at the computer since, I don't know, 20 minutes to 4, and then I've been sitting here wondering what time to start. And all of that may seem inconsequential, but I pay attention to such details. In fact, it's my thing to pay attention as much as I can to as many details as possible. I certainly can't pay attention to everything. I would be totally inundated and would never get anything done. I'd only be paying attention. And that's not paying attention. The catch-22. As I look back at what has transpired so far this year, I would say without a doubt that there have been massive visible changes that I was told there was going to be between Christmas and New Year last year. I saw that. I was given that by Spirit. And the fact that Spirit directed me through other people to start making videos and then to do them every day is now a matter of history. I've watched it unfold. It has been the most tremendous year of my life in many, many respects. And yet I'm fully aware as we begin this 10th wave that the same people, the same criminals that have been running the world for a very long time still seem to at least have everything under control. Yes, they have infiltrated the demonstrations. In some cases, perhaps even instigated them. They're trying to create violence. I know that. Any thinking person knows that that's really what they would like, and it would be absolutely playing into their hands for the demonstrators to turn violent. They must remain peaceful around the world, and they must grow. That's my analysis. That's my perception. I would love to see it where you could plan an event like they planned yesterday on the 28th to stop the commerce around the world. It didn't happen. Even though I liked the idea, and it did put some energy into the world in that regard, most of the world isn't awake enough yet to even participate. And until a majority participates, it will not have the effect that we'd like to see. It's still less than 1% actually of the people that are ruling the world, and less than 1% of the people that are trying to change the world to the new world. The world that works for everybody. The world where peace is the rule and not war. the world where sharing and cooperation are the rules and not competition and every man and woman for him or herself. The world that we've lived in is unsustainable and doesn't work, yet it's the only world we've known for generations, centuries, millennia. It's the only world we've known as humans. We really, except for brief respites, we've only known that world, which has really in the 20th century and now the 21st century has really come to face us squarely in the face at how unjust and unmerciful and unfair the world is. Yet it's the world that we, all of us, have created, whether by acquiescence or on purpose. And for most people, it's by acquiescence. We have given unwitting consent to those that rule us, just as we have given unwitting consent to our ego to edge God out. But I've been inviting God to get involved in my life all of my life. I can look back to my teenage years when I was crying out to God for this, that, or the other thing. And I got to admit, most of my prayers have not been answered in the way that I would have liked them to be answered. That's the truth. I'd like to be able not to say that. But the truth is, most of my prayers seem to have gone unanswered, at least in a way that I would recognize the answer as being affirmative. Most of the answers have seemed to be negative. In other words, I've heard your request and it's denied. When is heaven going to hear our request and say, yes, we will help you create your new world? It's been promised by the prophets throughout the ages. It's been promised by the seers in religions of every sort imaginable. Religion became the problem instead of the solution. And yes, there were people jumping on the bandwagon yesterday in the comments. We told you so. We wondered what you were going to do. The last modernist said, isn't it just like you to create a 10th wave because the 9th wave didn't work? Well, I didn't create it. Steve Beckow perhaps was one of the ones that created it. He's the first one that I heard mention it as far as I remember. And then, of course, Georgy Stankoff, or whatever his name is, he wrote about it, and there's been other people talking about it, and I've talked about it. I mean, I really don't know. The three of us, as far as I know, are the only ones that have extrapolated a 10th wave. How convenient to create a 10th wave. I had a talk with one of my friends from North Carolina last night, and there were only 9 steps in the pyramids. The 9th wave is completion. But why wouldn't there be a new beginning? Why wouldn't we start over with something fresh like a 10th wave? It makes sense to me, since 1, 0 is a 1 and 1 is new beginning. And the 11th wave is a master number, the primary master number. So we're in the 10th wave now. And once again, in my life, I'm calling on God, whatever name you want to give the Creator, the powers that truly be, that are unseen in the world, and yet they're the powers that really drive things. When can we get the attention of the Father, Mother, God to actually help us, to stand with us, to not allow the Occupy movements and the demonstrations to be overtaken by the dark cabals that have wanted to rule the world with an iron fist, with a combat boot stomping down on the human face forever and ever? How are we going to stop that? How are we going to actually shift the energy and make the changes that are necessary to create a world that literally works for everyone, where everyone is given a fair chance? Everyone is given an opportunity to learn and to grow and to become the most creative and productive and fulfilled human beings each of us can become. And we help each other do that. We're in each other's camp. We have each other's back. And we support that which is good. And we stop supporting that which is evil, living backwards with greed and avarice and contempt for others. Yes, love is the answer. And many of us are loving. And many of those that are loving are also in denial, thinking that it's just going to happen by some magic, or they're going to be swept off the planet and taken to another planet. I hope to God that there is never any such thing as a rapture and taking us onto spaceships and pulling us out of here. And I so detest that idea. I so detest the idea because there's no wisdom gained in doing it that way. There's no wisdom gained. There's a disconnect. And in order for wisdom to truly be gained, from my perspective, the way that I've seen it for a long time, is there must be a connection. Everything must be connected to everything else. And there must be a flow from one to the other. Not a disruption and a shift, but a flow. Flowing from the old world into the new. Not with cataclysm, not with removal or killing or anything else. I'd love to see the elite simply rehabilitated, even if it means being incarcerated for a while till they could get their senses back and find that flame of love and that flame of freedom that burns in all created beings, that's in everything that is. I'd love to see that happen. And I'd love to see 10 years from now one of the international bankers, one of the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers or one of these people rehabilitated and talking about how they awakened to the truth and admit that what they were doing was a horrendous thing, but recognizing that the horrendous thing that they did was actually part of the awakening process, and forgiving themselves and not holding themselves in blame and shame, not holding themselves with guilt, but truly liberated from the things that bind us. Some people say that fear, I've read so many places that say that fear is the lowest emotion. No, shame is. Shame is. Everything starts with shame. We are shamed, and then we feel guilty. And ultimately we get to the place where we derive the concept of punishment for what we feel guilty about. And then we fear the punishment. And we live our whole lives in fear. So fear is actually rising up on the evolutionary chain of human emotion. It's not the lowest emotion. Shame is. If we weren't so ashamed of what we have created, if we could embrace it and see the beauty even in the darkness that we've created, because it's given us wisdom, if we allow it to. If we allow it to. That's the gift we've given to ourselves, if we allow it to be. The question is, will we? And the question is, will heaven help us? I believe the answer is yes. I'd like to see a demonstration. I'd like to see the faith and the feeling become the manifestation of a new world. Again, one that works for everyone. That's my dream. It's going to be my dream as long as I have breath. May heaven help us. Yes. Namaste. Thank you.